Welcome to this short web tutorial series designed to empower you, the teacher, with the skills and knowledge necessary to create a scaffolded research project, which can then be shared with your students, either as a class, a small group, or individually. This series of videos will address this concept from the perspective of a middle school teacher who is teaching extreme weather phenomena. This project specifically will focus on hurricanes, one of the most extreme storm systems in the world. This fourth video in our series will guide you, the teacher, through the process of creating note card outlines. Let's begin by getting back into our existing Noodletools project. I'm logged into my Noodletools account already. On my main page, you can see a list of resources and projects that I've been working on. At the top is my current project, Bloom-Hurricanes. I'm going to double click on it to open it up. Next, I'm going to visit the vertical blue menu located on the left-hand side of the screen. For this video, I'm looking for the option labeled Note Cards. I'm going to double click to begin. You can see that I've already been working on some note card outline ideas. Of course, the ideas and concepts that you want students to know will guide you in the creation of your note card skeletons. Once you're complete, students will simply have to use the resources that you've provided to find the relevant information. I'm going to click on an existing note card to give you an idea of how I've scaffolded the information. Remember, you don't have to scaffold your information in the same way. I'm simply giving you the tools and the knowledge of how to apply this technology to your classroom and your students to best meet both of your needs. Let's begin by clicking on the note card titled, How Are Hurricanes Named? When we click to open this note card, we see that there are some key points identified. I've already labeled the note card title in a way that I hope will be relevant and understandable to the student. Next, I want to guide the student to the resource that I think would be most relevant by pre-selecting it in the source field. I've also tagged this note card in a way that I hope will be simple and understandable. This will come into use especially when we organize note cards into piles and we consider the outline for our project. A good tip for coming up with note card tags is to consider how many note cards you will want grouped together in a given paragraph and what concepts you would like students to explore in a given paragraph. Moving down, this is one of the precarious elements of the note card skeletons. Students can overwrite information on this card. Therefore, I've labeled boxes in the note cards with bold red writing that says, do not paste over information written in red without permission from your teacher. My hope is that when the teacher teaches the methodology behind the note cards, they will emphasize this statement and explain to the student that they should leave everything written in red until their note cards are completed, or better yet, until their final note cards are approved by the teacher. And so, below each bolded red set of instructions, students can add their own notes and research that they've gathered from the appropriate sources. So, now that we know this, we are going to create a note card. And in fact, we're going to create a series of note cards that will be one section in the paper, the life cycle of a hurricane. We are going to ask students to gather information about the hurricane cycle of formation, intensification, and ultimate dissipation. Now, as the teacher, I'm thinking about what pieces of information that I want the student to gather about hurricane formation. Ideally, with note cards, we want students gathering one quote per note card. However, you can certainly modify this to your need. For example, you could copy and paste a paragraph from the research article and ask students to fill in relevant information. Ultimately, you will want to come up with a system that works for both you and your classroom. I'm going to begin by consulting one of the articles that I've curated. I'm going to use the Tropical Cyclone article from Encyclopedia Britannica. And for this note card, we are going to ask students to gather information about the formation of a hurricane. So let's begin by going to the top right hand and closing out this existing note card. Again, remember that most endings in Noodletools end with a blue button, save and close. Next, we're going to be starting our new note card, and new things, of course, begin with a click of a green button. So we are going to click on New Note Card. So I have my new note card started, and I've begun adding a little bit of information. To begin with, I've labeled this the life cycle of a hurricane. I want my students consulting the tropical cyclone article from Encyclopedia Britannica, and the tags that I've listed are facts number 1, although I think I'm going to delete that because I'm going to show you an alternative method of doing note cards, but I am going to keep life cycle. I'm going to now go over to my article, and I have a section within the life cycle of the hurricane pulled up. Now, I can understand with students who are unfamiliar with research how it could be really hard to sift out relevant information. So, where I showed you with my previous note card outline how one might use a note card to direct a student to capture a single quote, in this note card, I'm going to show you formatting tools, and I'm going to show you how to create a paragraph in which students have guided notes. All right, so to begin with, I'm actually going to start not by copying this paragraph, but by going to my previous note card, and I want to copy this reminder. Do not paste over information written in red without permission from your teacher. I'm going to paste that in here, and I'll need to know how to format, but I'll get to that later on. Next, I'm going to put in my instructions. Oops. Please use. All right, I need to do a little bit of formatting right now. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hyperlink this article just to make it a little bit more approachable to students. So to do that, I'm going to go over to my cite option. I'm going to take my URL and I'm going to copy it. I'm now going to go back to my note card. I'm going to click on one of the formatting options labeled here at the top. The one that I'm looking for is what looks to me like a chain link, because if we click on that, that's what we can use to insert a hyperlink. So I've highlighted my article title. I've now clicked to link it back to the article in Encyclopedia Britannica, as well as labeling it here at the top in the source. And if I truly get desperate, I'm going to go back. I could always go to sources, and remember, I can use my link right here to pull the article up again. But personally, as a teacher, I think that a little bit of redundancy is a good thing. All right, next, I'm going to enter, and I'm going to create some guided notes. Specifically, I'm going to look at the formation, and I'm going to paste it in here. So what I would do is I'm going to start labeling and color coding my paragraph. And again, I've directed students to not fill in anything labeled red. So as I create my guided notes, anything that I want to keep, I'm going to label red. And where I want students to fill in notes, I am simply going to overwrite. And this does take a few minutes to do. But once you get comfortable with this, it's a fairly quick process. think I'd rather make this a fill-in note. All right, and finally, I'm going to take my note. I'm going to make it, I've been making all of the other notes size 18. So for continuity's sake, I'm going to do the same thing. And that is a hyperlinked article, so we want students to be able to click on that. I am going to label my paraphrase or summary box the same with bold red. And now that I'm doing guided notes in the previous section for the direct quotation, I'm going to simply write, please rewrite guided notes in your own words in this, we'll say within this box. I'm going to reduce the size of my font just a little bit. I don't really need this italicized and I don't really need this underlined. And now I have my instructions and I don't think that I need anything from my ideas, but I am also a huge fan of continuity. So since I phrased under my ideas in a previous box, do not use this box for this note card. I'm going to do the exact same thing for this box. And I'm going to turn it red. All right, so this is a completed note card scaffolded outline. Again, this is a slightly different way of doing note cards than the previous one, where a student was simply asked to capture a quote about how hurricanes are named from the article Tropical Cyclone, right? The last thing that I need to do here is I need to end again with that click of a blue button. So I'm going to select Save and Close. And now when I refresh my screen, you'll see that there is a small growing pile. All right, to reopen a note card, simply double click on it. And again, please remember that there is no one right or wrong way to format these boxes. It simply depends on the best methodology that you have for students to gather information and research. There are a million different ways to organize note cards and to organize the way in which you are asking students to gather information. It basically comes down to what is the best fit for you and your teachers. But I hope that you understand a little bit about formatting note cards and how to create them. Thank you so much. And as always, happy researching, friends. Don't forget to save your work.